Hey, this is Cavallo from datingfire.com and datingadviceguru.com. You know, sometimes your guy friends might make you scratch your head, they act a little bit flirty, maybe they hold eye contact a little too long, and you start to wonder, does he like me? Well, the truth is, many men try this tactic. They try basically coming in the back door to get into a woman's heart. They try and sneak in. For whatever reason, he might not be confident enough to approach you directly. So that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about, does my guy friend like me? Some signs to look for. Hey, and before this rock concert starts, why don't you do the big three right off the bat? Number one, make sure you like and subscribe. And, of course, turn on those notifications if you want to make sure you know when the next video comes out. I do these things weekly. And if you've got any questions or comments, be sure to leave them down in the comment section below. I mean, you can't blame guys. After all, if he were to listen to a lot of his female friends, he'd probably be hearing the wrong advice. He'd hear the same lame thing coming out all the time. I just want to be friends first, she says, as she complains about the last guy that moved too fast. Most guys don't know that friends first is actually a recipe for failure. Chances are you know this as well, don't you? Romance has to start with a bang, not with a fizzle. Most romantic relationships run into trouble if they don't start out romantic. They fizzled because they lack the necessary sexual energy to really lift off and get into orbit. As a matter of fact, it's vitally important that you figure out if your guy friend likes you as quickly as possible so that you can avoid any of this confusion and avoid losing that spark of passion from the romance that could happen. When you're really close to a guy, it can be really difficult to tell if he's just being friendly or is he showing real interest in dating you. That's what your confusion is. How do you know if he loves you or if he's just being a sweet friend? You don't want to ask him directly, and you don't want to risk a really awkward conversation that might lose your friendship. So why does a guy suddenly want to date you when he's always been your friend? Well, there's a lot of reasons for this. The first one is, of course, chemistry. Sometimes a guy spends time without a girlfriend and he realizes, yeah, he really wants one and needs one. If there's a woman that is already in his life, already in his circle of friends that he's comfortable with, maybe compatible with, it's only natural he's going to think about escalating that to a relationship. It's a perfect case of what I call familiarity breeding desire. Second, it could also be his desert island problems. You could say that his desperation drove him to wanting you as well. Sometimes a guy just realizes he needs a bed buddy and he starts to think, why not? So let's jump into the signs. Sign number one, you've met his family. Yeah, it's one of those things that you normally look for in a romantic relationship, right? Have you met his family yet? But if he has brought you to anything with his family, like a family event of some kind, especially if he brought you alone, you can be pretty sure he knows his family's going to think that you're his girlfriend. And maybe he's trying to get you to think that too. Again, another subtle way of working you in. It's a little devious, but it's coming from a good heart. He may also want to show you that his family is cool and fun to hang out with, maybe hoping that you're going to feel at home, comfortable enough to entertain the idea of, why not date him? Sign number two are one-on-one hangouts. A really huge sign of his interest in dating you is when he arranges it so that you and him do things together alone. If a guy is only interested in you as a friend, he will not do this. He won't let this happen because he doesn't want you to get the wrong idea. So he won't do things with you without his other friends. You might go out every once in a while alone, but if it happens consecutively and frequently, you can bet your bottom dollar and your calendar that your guy friend really does like you. Sign number three is probably one of the obvious ones, and it might be the one that triggered your question. Physical affection is increasing. Yeah, one of the sure signs of a man's interest is the amount of touching he does. Guys love to touch women that they're attracted to. In fact, we have a hard time resisting this behavior, period. You might have experienced this with guys that you're not interested in who just won't take a hint. They get all gropey. Yeah, when a guy gets gropey, it can get pretty tiresome. So when a guy starts touching you a lot more, there's a good chance he's feeling more interested in a relationship with you and more comfortable physically. He might touch your arm a little bit more. He might let his touch stay there a little bit longer. He might hold you in hugs for a little bit longer. Sign number four is the eyes have it. Yeah, in the same way that you noticed him touching you more, you're probably also going to notice him looking at you more. This is because he's probably seeing you in a different light, literally and figuratively. It's just, well, just like touching, he can't help but look at you. Men have an uncontrollable desire to look at a woman that they desire themselves. It's one of the easiest ways to tell if he's trying to go from friends to a relationship. You'll probably catch him looking at you, maybe out of the corner of your eye, and then he'll look away quickly if you look back at him. Classic infatuation behavior. For time's sake, I got to skip forward. If you want to get all of these tips, by the way, and all the signs, make sure you go on over to the site, go on over to datingfire.com, and you'll be sent right over to the blog. Sign number 6 is a strange nervousness shows up. Yet again, one of the obvious signs of a guy being interested in you is his level of nervousness. Guys typically get very awkward around women they like. No different from when a woman does the exact same thing. You might start to see him become tongue-tied frequently. He might lose his train of thought more often. You might hear him saying, "never mind," a lot more often as he struggles to find a way to communicate in his nervousness. He's probably going to be fidgety a little bit more. He may break eye contact unexpectedly as he becomes self-conscious of himself. Sign number 8 is you're noticing that you're talking more about your friendship. Now, the first thing he's going to want to pry into is the nature of your existing relationship, the friendship you have, especially if he wants to see if you're interested in having more with him. Just like somebody kicking the tires on a new car, he's going to want to kick the tires on this relationship to see if you're ready to go the long haul with him. He'll ask you questions about how close do you feel to him. He might bring up a lot of examples from the past of when you two were, well, maybe a little better than just friends. Maybe you were a little more affectionate, or there was something that hinted at more of a relationship. Or he'll just bring up a lot of past experiences, trying to emphasize that you two have history together. Sign number 9, he's starting to write your biography. You'll probably notice him asking a lot more questions about you. He's going to start taking a much more serious interest in who you are as a person, your history, your family, things like that. He'll also want to find out more about what you like and don't like. In fact, he may start to go over ground you know you've already covered. This is because the first time he wasn't really paying attention. Well, now that he's got romantic interest, he's really interested and he's going to listen. Sign number 10, your phone is abuzz. He's probably going to start texting you a lot more too. You're going to notice an upsurge in his messaging you and checking in with you. He might comment a lot more on Facebook. He might also email and phone call you a lot more. He'll reach out to you and be contacting you a lot more frequently. Sign number 11, it's super awkward to talk about any other romance you've got going on. This is a big one. One sign you're going to notice, and you're going to notice it in yourself, is if you feel like talking about a guy that you're interested in that is not him, you're going to feel awkward about it. You're going to feel like you might even be doing something wrong, like you're cheating in some weird way. You may even feel weird about other friends' love lives, talking about their relationships with him. This is obviously a sign that you're noticing the change in direction your friendship has taken with him. It's no longer about just being friends, it's about not making the other person jealous. And this is especially important if you know if you know you don't want a relationship with your guy friend, because you're going to probably notice this particular change first. And I'm going to talk about more about that in a minute. Sign number 12, he hates every single guy you date. Come on, this is probably the most obvious sign in the book. And I guarantee you, if he's interested in you, your friend is showing it. He's going to hate every single guy that you show interest in because none of them are him. He'll be critical of them, and none of them will be good enough for you. In fact, he'll probably point out faults that maybe you haven't even spotted. If you sense that he's overly critical of every single guy in your life, it's all because of jealousy. And don't be surprised if he acts really weird when you sleep over at a guy's house. You're going to notice some big time jealous behavior there. Sign number 13, he's a whole lot more concerned about your well-being. Truth is, he'll be asking a lot more about how you're doing. He'll check in and want to know your condition and your emotional state. He'll also be more concerned if you're having troubles or challenges, and yes, he's still going to be offering up those solutions to you. Next sign is he'll drop anything and everything to help you out or do you a favor. You need a ride somewhere? Sure, he'll do it, no problem. Need him to pick something up for you? Yeah, he'll be at the store as soon as he can get a shirt on and find his car keys. He's out the door. When a guy friend of yours is falling for you, he'll instantly become the husband you didn't know you had or even needed. And the next sign is there are big changes in how he treats you overall. This is kind of a catch-all. When you're noticing that there's a change in the way he's treating you from the way you used to be, that's a big sign that your guy friend is starting to change his feelings about you. He's probably liking you, and he's definitely falling for you. The change is usually unmistakable and very obvious. It'll start out as small signs like the ones I've been talking about and probably build up steam and momentum till they're just glaringly obvious. And yes, eventually he will probably confess his feelings to you directly, especially if he isn't feeling that there's reciprocation. But what do you do if you're not interested in him? Well, first of all, make absolutely sure you know he's interested in you for a romantic relationship. This isn't hard to do. Obviously, notice the signals I shared with you. Then you need to confirm it by actually talking to a friend of his. Trust me, they will know because he'll have talked to them. Most guys at some point or another have consulted with their friends to see if this is something he really wants to pursue. In fact, one of the things I didn't mention as a sign that your friend likes you is that he will probably have talked to either your friends or his friends about this possibility, maybe even your family. And what do you do if you're interested in him? How do you encourage this thing? How do you get it moving? Well, this is exactly what most women are hoping for, but they just don't know how to get it started. The first thing you got to do is to start returning the interest. Okay, most guys will take the hint and they'll bust their move. Most important, make sure you understand and know how you feel about him first. Okay, this is really important. Sometimes in our hurry to play with the delight of a possible romance that might be, we get caught up in wishful thinking. Sometimes the relationship would not be a good idea. Maybe you're not really attracted to him as much as you think. You don't have the chemistry. Maybe he's just rebounding. Maybe you're just not compatible in any good way. This is why you have to know how you feel about him and really having a relationship with your friend first. Otherwise, you might get pulled into a romantic relationship that doesn't work, right? It might leave you without your friendship. And what I mean is not having the friendship first necessarily, but make sure you know that you want to have that relationship before you go any further. Take a few minutes while you have the opportunity and freedom to do it and really look at it with a critical mind, not an infatuated mind. We know how that works, right? Make a list of all the reasons you would make a good couple. Make a list of reasons that it wouldn't be a good idea. A little exercise like this can actually save you a lot of heartache and pain later on. And yeah, I know it's not romantic. It doesn't let destiny decide it for you, but please save that. You've got to think with your head sometimes and make sure that you're not sacrificing a good friendship. But you know what? Even after hearing all the signs I just gave you that your guy friend likes you and he's falling for you, you might still be a little bit confused. You might be a little uncertain. And in order to figure out whether he is sincere and really desires you or he's just being nicer than usual, you've got to know how to read a guy's signals. You see, guys give off very clear indications of how they feel about you. It oozes out. I mean, that sounds kind of gross. Okay, it comes out in his body language, it comes out in his words, it comes out in his actions, and it comes out in so many more things. But if you don't know how to spot those signals and how to read them, well, you're going to wind up very, very confused. You might even learn all too late about his feelings, and yeah, he might move on thinking that you just weren't interested in him. And that's probably what you're worried about most. Now, if you want to discover how to read guys, how to know what it is we're thinking, guess what? I'm a guy. I'm here. I'm at your disposal. I want to give you what you need to understand men. And what I want you to do now is go over this link you see below me here. That's right. Go over to datingfire.com. It's datingfire.com/Ask Carlos. datingfire.com/Ask Carlos. I got a very simple form. If you have a question about anything that's going on in your relationship, in your world, related to men and dating and how to read guys, you can ask me a question. And even if you don't have a question, just put your email in there and you can get my free ebook. That's right, I have a great book that helps women get past that barrier. That's right, that first 3 to 4 months when you just can't seem to get your relationship off the ground. I'm going to show you the mistakes that men make that make them pull away. I'll show you why men run from relationships, why we go cold, why we get distant, and why we stop talking and shut down, and why those emotions don't come out. You'll know if he's really still interested in you. Maybe you had a guy that liked you, or you've realized too late, oh my God, he really did like me. Now you want to get it going again. I'll show you if he's still interested. And you really do have to know why men do this, because once you understand the mistakes that get in your way, that stop you from moving forward, you're going to have basically wide open. It's kind of like being on a racetrack with no other cars. It's super easy to get a guy to fall for you, but you got to get these mistakes out of the way first. Go on over to datingfire.com/Ask Carlos. And before we run away, don't go so quick. Before you run to the next video or go over to Ask Carlos, make sure you do the big three. Number one, like and subscribe to these videos. If you stuck around this long, you must like them a little bit, I hope. Yeah. And number two, make sure you turn on the little notifications icon, the little bell indicator next to the subscribe button. That'll make sure you know when they come out. And leave me your questions and comments down below. Hey, this is Carlos Cavallo from datingfire.com/Ask Carlos. Go on over there now, and I'll be talking again next time. As always, live and love.